Hello and welcome to our second video in our series of debates in geomorphology. In our first video, we asked the geomorphology community on Twitter what they felt were the big debates still raging in geomorphology today. If you haven't seen that video, I would advise you go back and you watch that video first before starting with this one, and you can just find it on the videos on our channel. So in our first debate, which has been raging over the last week, we asked people about how landscapes changed. Now, do they think that they change gradually, so through lots and lots of really small changes that happen all the time, and over time these build up enough that they make big changes to planetary surfaces? Or alternatively, do we have like kind of long periods where literally nothing happens, and then in a short space of time there is a rare yet very catastrophic event that results in a lot of change in that short space of time? We put this question to the geomorphology community on Twitter to see what they thought. It was Team Catastrophe who were first off the blocks, getting in a series of heavy punches. Possibly the heaviest punch of all that's possible in geomorphology, the impact crater. Whether these are formed by a collision with a bit of a planetary body with an icy comet or a rocky asteroid, or probably more commonly smaller fragments of these, so meteoroids, this process can never be really described as slow or steady. They are rare, big, and they're dramatic, and they're most likely what polished off the dinosaurs. Team Catastrophe quickly followed up their first blow with another. These rare events have formed landscapes on all planetary surfaces throughout our solar system, and on many of those surfaces, they are the dominant feature. And bang! An uppercut. It's a process that can create mountains in seconds. They take seconds to form, but they can last for millennia. Some of the craters on Mars, for example, were formed billions of years ago, and they can still be seen on the surface of the planet. Finally, this devastating opening salvo from Team Catastrophe concluded that these events still have an ongoing imprint on geomorphology, that there are feedbacks on other processes that happen afterwards. Finally, we saw Team Slow and Steady deliver their counterpunch. If these rare and catastrophic events dominate the formation of landscapes, why do we see so few of them on the Earth's surface today? With our planet's active plate tectonics and our atmosphere, the slow and steady processes of erosion are able to weather these features down over time. Contrast the surface of the Moon to the Earth. Both bodies have had a similar level of impacts in the past, yet without an atmosphere, those slow and steady processes of weathering just do not take place. On Earth they do in abundance, and the superficial evidence of these events is eroded over time. Late as ever, more members of slow and steady piled in. What about the development of rivers? The evolution of meander bends? Surely this is driven by the gradual build-up of movements by individual sediment grains. But then we began to get different viewpoints. What about the features of the landscape that seemingly come and go? They form slowly, but then they seem to disappear rapidly, only to form slowly once more. The debate became less combative and more nuanced. Geomorphic processes seem to be quite random. The evidence of what we observe in nature suggests that large, rare, catastrophic events have a disproportionate impact on the formation of landscapes. Yet, when we build models to understand and explain how these processes work, assuming changes that are small and gradual work really well. Even simplifying processes down massively using a small number of equations and computer models which have really a small amount of complexity, we can recreate landscapes as they appear now. And this seems counterintuitive to what we see happening around us. Finally, it was suggested that this was because over the passage of time, the sum of all those gradual changes overrides what we would perceive as a catastrophic change. Maybe these large and rare events are not disproportionate at all, but instead we just haven't been around long enough and observing the world for long enough to understand it fully yet. So at the end of debate 2, I don't think we have a clear winner. Large, rare, catastrophic events clearly do have an imprint on our landscapes, but the forces of slow and steady wear these down over time. The balance of these clearly changes between different environments and different settings, and also the timescales that we're looking at. I think this particular debate is going to go on for many decades yet and continue to drive new research in geomorphology. So what do you think? Why don't you like this video, subscribe to the channel, but also let us know in the comments below your opinion and where you sit on this debate. Are you team catastrophe? Are you team slow and steady? Or do you sit somewhere in between? Thank you.